Our today's topic is motion. We'll be discussing about some important questions of motion. Define rest and motion. A body is said to be at rest if its position with respect to a fixed point or an object in its surrounding do not change with time. For example, a book lying in a table. A body is said to be in motion if its position with respect to a fixed point or an object in its surroundings keep changing with time. Example, a bird flying in the sky. Why rest and motion are relative terms? Rest and motion are relative terms because whether a given object is at rest or in motion depends on the observer and the reference frame chosen by the observer. What are the different types of motion? The different types of motions are translatory motion, rotatory motion, oscillatory motion, repetitive motion, random motion, combination or multiple motion. What is translatory motion? What are the two types of translatory motion? Define them. If an object moves in such a way that every part of the object moves through the same distance in the same interval, then the object is said to be in translatory motion. For example, a car. The two types of translatory motion are rectilinear motion and curvilinear motion. Then what is rectilinear motion? An object moving along a straight line is said to be having rectilinear motion. Example, an apple falling from a tree. Then what is curvilinear motion? An object moving on a curved path is said to have curvilinear motion. For example, a car taking a turn on a road. Define rotatory motion. When an object rotates or spins about an axis, it is said to be in rotatory motion. For example, a spinning top. What do you understand by oscillatory motion and vibratory motion? When an object as a whole moves to and fro from its mean position, it is said to be in oscillatory motion. Example, a moving swing. And if the whole body does not move to and fro as a single unit, but some of its parts oscillate about their mean positions, it is known as vibratory motion. For an example, the motion of the string of a guitar when plucked. Why vibratory motion is a special case of oscillatory motion? Vibratory motion is an effort of oscillatory motion of some parts of an object. Thus, vibratory motion is a special case of oscillatory motion. What is repetitive motion? What are the two types of repetitive motion? When an object moves such that it repeats its motion after a certain interval of time, it is said to be in repetitive motion. The two types of repetitive motions are the periodic motion and the non-periodic motion. What is the difference between periodic and non-periodic motion? Periodic motion, the motion that repeats itself after a regular interval of time, is called a periodic motion. For example, motion of the pendulum of a wall clock. Non-periodic motion, the motion that repeats itself but not after regular intervals of time, is called non-periodic motion. For example, swaying of the branches of a tree. Define random motion. Give example. An object moving with no specific path and frequently changing its direction is said to be in a random motion. For example, a dancing girl who moves in different direction at different speed. What is combination motion or multiple motion? Give example. When an object possesses two or more types of motions at the same time, it is said to have combination motion or a multiple motion. For an example, the wheel of a bicycle rotates, that's the rotatory motion, and at the same time it moves forward in a straight or curved path, that is the translatory motion. What is the difference between uniform and non-uniform motion? An object is said to have uniform motion if it covers equal distance in equal interval of time along a straight line. For example, if a car covers a distance of 50 km in first hour, 50 km in the second, and 50 km in the third hour, and so on. In case of non-uniform motion, an object is said to have a non-uniform motion if it covers unequal distances in equal interval of time. What is distance and displacement? The distance traveled by a moving body is the actual path covered by it. And displacement of a body is defined as the shortest possible distance covered by it between its initial and final positions. Now, write the differences between scalar and vector quantities. A physical quantity that can be described only by its magnitude is called a scalar quantity. For example, time, mass, speed, density. Whereas, a physical quantity that needs both magnitude and direction to be described is called a vector quantity. Example, displacement, velocity, force, weight, etc. Define average speed, the ratio of the total distance traveled to the total time taken is called the average speed. That is, we can say average speed equals to total distance traveled by total time taken. What is the difference between uniform speed and non-uniform speed? If an object covers equal distance in equal intervals of time, it is said to have uniform speed. Whereas, if an object covers unequal distances in equal interval of time, it is said to have non-uniform speed. When is an object said to have a non-uniform or a variable velocity? An object is said to have a non-uniform or a variable velocity if it covers, number 1, unequal distances in equal interval of time in a given direction. Number 2, equal distance in equal interval of time, but its direction keeps on changing. Now, what is speed? State its SI unit. The distance traveled by an object in unit time is called the speed of an object. That is, speed equals to distance by time, and its SI unit is meter per second. Define velocity. State its SI unit. The distance traveled by an object in unit time and in a given direction is called its velocity. That is, velocity equals to displacement by time, and its SI unit is also meter per second. Speed and velocity have same units, yet they are different physical quantities. Why? Speed and velocity have the same units, yet they are different physical quantities because the speed is the distance traveled by an object in unit time, which indicate it is a scalar quantity and it have only magnitude and no direction. But velocity is the distance traveled by an object in unit time and in a given direction, which indicates it is a vector quantity and it have both direction and magnitude. Thank you.